You have to make a commitment to say, hey, I want to live differently. I don't want to live with the weight of these emotions in my body. Because even though we're talking about mindset and emotions, these things manifest physically. Your shoulder hurts, or you have aches and pains, you have a stomach ache, maybe you have migraines. Many of these physical things that we experience of discomfort have to do with mental and emotional things that we have not yet dealt with.
This is the Two Healers podcast, where we explore health and wellness through a holistic and integrative lens. I'm your host, Dr. Adri Bryant, bringing you insightful conversations with experts from around the world who are transforming the way we approach well-being. Hi, everyone. Today we have a very special episode with a wellness expert, Galanda B. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Adri, for having me.
Please, Galanda, we would love if you can tell us more about yourself. We'd want to hear about your journey and what areas you specialize.
So I am what I would consider to be a wellness consultant. And that means that I have a lot of modalities that I help people in. My journey started with mindfulness. The first certification that I went after was a mindfulness meditation teacher. This was several years ago. It started with that, and then I moved on to do a yoga teacher certification. And I think that's where my love for wellness and my calling and purpose really started to show up. I have now gone on to do several types of yoga training. I'm more than 500 hours certified as a yoga teacher. I have an additional meditation certification as well. During my yoga teacher training, I was also exposed to energy healing, Reiki specifically, sound healing, and crystals. So I have also gone on to become a Reiki master, certified in crystal healing, most recently as a naturopathic clinician. So I'm able to do detox therapy with folks, reflexology and such. However, the thing that I love most is plants. It is a part of the services. So I would call myself a plant lover. Some people might call it a herbalist or a clinician. I reserve that right for those people who have really done the work and went through the breadth of learning to be called that. But I do have a lot of knowledge in herbal preparation, plant medicine, plant therapy for a variety of situations, not just internally, but also topically, and also interacting with plants. My specific area that I like to focus on is emotional awareness and mindfulness. All of my practices, all of my services are based in mindfulness, and emotional awareness is the area that I talk the most about and relate all of these other areas back to, and even all of these modalities, is to help people learn how to connect and manage their emotions so that they can live with more joy and ease.
Yeah, totally agree with you. If you want to correct something, you need to change your mind, right? How has your experience been working in this area of emotional regulation or emotional awareness with people?
Yeah, so I think people struggle the most because they try to do too many things at once. So people who are having difficulties managing their emotions think that they have to change a whole lot of things at the same time. Like they have to totally do something different. I think this is where people have the most challenge because they think they have to do. And my approach is start small. Change one or two or even a half of a thing first. Get into the habit of that. Get the feedback into your system that, yes, I can do this small thing. And then you can then build upon that to expand your toolkit in understanding how you can regulate your emotions, and even before regulate them, recognize when you are experiencing different emotions.
From where do you think that all these emotions or all this struggle that people have, that we have, like fighting or struggling with some kind of like feelings, where do you think that they have the origin?
So I think a lot of the emotional challenges from our society really thinking that we need to operate in isolation, right? Like you have to manage this stuff by yourself. I think when you're in community, there's more of an opportunity to be able to, one, observe different emotions, and then two, learn what they are to be able to do things. When you're constantly being told, figure it out, look it up yourself, suck it up, right? This is putting the responsibility on the individual, which is each person's responsibility to regulate their own emotions, but you've got to learn it, right? Like you have to learn how to do it. It is a learned behavior. It is not an innate behavior. Just look at babies. Right? When they're hungry, they cry. When they're wet, they cry. When they're happy, they laugh. You cannot dictate how they are expressing. They learn from your responses whether or not their expression is accepted or not accepted. And it's the same with adults. So because we have a society that often focuses on individual, you got to do it yourself, you miss out on the opportunity of community to observe, to learn, and then to have the support while you're learning to do it.
Do you think that the family environment can contribute to all these struggles, all these emotional struggles we have as adults?
Absolutely. So if we take a stereotypical Western household, right, where you have parents who both work and let's say a couple of children. So the parents, they have to get up, they have to get the children together, they go to school, they go to work, they work, if they work outside the home, they go to work, they have that transportation, they're dealing with the emotions, they have to come back home, pick up the children. There's not a lot of time to process whatever emotions you might have experienced because you have the next thing to do. I have to get out of the house. I have to get to work. I have to come back from work. I have to pick up the children. So parents oftentimes, they haven't managed their emotions well. And so what the children observe is suppressed emotions, or maybe if they're not suppressed, they may have parents who have outbursts, right? And then that's the learned behavior that they have. Even if in school they may observe something different or the same. Because we don't have a society, at least not in the Western world, taking a pause and time to really feel what you feel and then examine with curiosity those feelings, what those feelings really mean. They just keep getting piled and stuffed down together. One of two things happen. People either explode or they shut down. Those are the two options. And exploding can look different. Even shutting down could look different. Shutting down just means maybe they don't talk. It could be depression. It could be anxiety. It could be a lot of things, right? But we don't really promote, hey, take a moment. Pay attention to what's going on with you because it's, no, hurry up, get to the next thing instead of take a pause and see what's going on with you.
And I think that also for all the things that you already said is why in today's society we are seeing a depression, anxiety epidemic in all the cultures worldwide. And we see all these kinds of emotional issues in kids, right?
I think that, there is still opportunity and ability to remediate this, right? However, it's a simple thing, but it's not an easy thing because it's very different than the way people are accustomed to operating. It can be done, but you have to make a commitment to say, hey, I want to live differently. I don't want to live with the weight of these emotions in my body. Because even though we're talking about mindset and emotions, these things manifest physically. Your shoulder hurts, or you have aches and pains, you have a stomach ache, maybe you have migraine. Many of these physical things that we experience of discomfort have to do with mental and emotional things that we have not yet dealt with.
Yeah. Do you believe that emotions are connected with health issues, that you can develop an autoimmune disease, a cancer, and diabetes, and many other health issues more?
Yeah, I definitely believe that your mindset and your emotional state has an effect on your physiological and your biological function. Do I think they cause those problems? Not necessarily. However, I absolutely believe that they can negatively exacerbate them. right? Your environment and DNA and all of these things will give people a certain predilection towards certain things. But high stress, poor emotional regulation, depression, anxiety all contribute to making these biological and physical issues more intense, more manifested. And there are studies that show that when you are changing your mindset, the positive impact that has on the body. They've even shown it with plants and with snowflakes. I don't know if you've ever seen those studies where when the snow is falling and they're talking, it's freezing and they're saying not nice things in that direction, how the snowflakes are disformed, they're very dark, but when saying positive, they're beautiful. The same thing with plants. When over a period of time they're spoken to positively and they thrive, and the plants that are spoken to in a negative tone, they don't do as well. The same thing happens in our bodies. When we are having depression, when we're having anxiety, we are sending the message to our very selves that you're no good, you're not right, why even bother? Type of energy. Whereas even one side of the day says, I'm going to be okay. Things will work out in my good, can change your DNA. In neuroscience, they call it neuroplasticity. When you change the way that you talk, change the way that you think, and it connects your brain waves in different ways in a positive way. Well, it could happen positive or negative, but we're going to talk about the positive way. Neuroplasticity means, hey, you can retrain your brain. You can do that. For example, let's say it's a veteran who unfortunately had some service during wartime. And maybe during this service, there was a lot of violence happening. And it just so happened that where this violence was happening, there was also the smell of pizza. So when he returns, the smell of pizza in his mind is associated with that extreme violence and makes him feel very ill, makes him feel very anxious, right? Because his brain has connected that smell with that experience. With some help with a therapist or maybe even with a coach, and retraining and saying, oh, pizza is where you go when you're going with your grandchildren to have a good time. There is the possibility that he can retrain his brain to associate that smell with a new positive experience instead of that old negative experience.
Totally agree with you. And what kinds of techniques do you use in your practice to approach neuroplasticity?
The number one way that you can retrain your brain so in real time is with the breath. Right? Your breath can really help you reset and help you get back to equilibrium. People are like, it's not as simple as a deep breath. Actually, it is as simple as a deep breath. It absolutely is. Now, you might need to pair that deep breath with maybe you change direction. So if you're having conflict here and you can feel in your body, oh, I'm getting sweaty. So that might be a sign for you that you are becoming agitated. Then maybe you need to turn to the right, 90 degrees and take your deep breath. So changing your orientation and doing the deep breath together can help you reset, right? And do what you need to do to get back to equilibrium. But the breath is always the first line of defense for me. The second thing is to find something tactile. So I have like on this necklace here. So some people are tactile people, or you may have a bracelet that you wear that if you find your emotional state being altered in a negative way, then you have your item to remind you that this is your reminder item. I'm safe. I'm good. I'm okay. I can regulate. So you can touch this even when the breath isn't working. And that's your reminder then, okay, let me take my deep breath. Because what often happens is when people are having this emotional dysregulation is they get so overwhelmed with the emotion that now they don't think that they have options. And so then they have a reaction as opposed to a response. So having the breath work and or a tactile thing to then give them the space to allow options to come to them, then they can respond rather than to react.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, all these things that you are saying, because actually it's scientifically proven that the aerobic exercise helps you with neuroplasticity to create
Yes.
new neuronal connections.
Yes, you are continuing the flow of energy through your body. So that's another thing. Oftentimes when we're agitated, we're holding our breath, things like that. So you are stagnating the energy flow. The breath helps to move the energy through, whereas instead of you hyperventilating, so irregular breaths, slowing it down, giving the signals to the brain and the body that you're okay, then gives you that space. So the breath always first, a tactile thing.
Can you mix both things?
You absolutely can. For most people starting out, I just say take deep breaths. Like, because I don't like to overwhelm people. Breathe in for 3, exhale for 6, right? Just take a deep breath. Now, after a person feels comfortable with that level of interaction, then I might say, however many counts you inhale, you want to take twice as many to exhale. So if you inhale 3 counts, do you want to exhale 6 counts? But that is the second level. I don't like to give people that initially. Let them get comfortable with knowing that they have an option, they have a tool, and their tool is their deep breath. Then it may go on to when people are feeling it to do box breathing. So where you inhale for a count, hold for a count, exhale for a count, and hold for a count. But these are advanced tactics. Only after a person feels comfortable knowing, if I get agitated, I know to take a deep breath, or I know I'm agitated, I can count to 4, inhale, and count to 8, exhale. Those are the basic things. And I like people to feel very comfortable and confident that they can do those things before going on to other tools that they may use. And those are things that they can use in the moment. Now, depending on what their environments are, their situations, there might be other activities that I give them, maybe doodling or coloring or something. It could be some other things that they could use to then start to train their brain outside of the actual action when it's happening.
During your years of experience, have you seen some challenging cases?
I think everybody has some level of difficulty. The most difficulty is with people believing in themselves, really. That is where the true difficulty comes in. I believe that everybody has the ability to be able to make these changes to help them be a more whole person. Many people, though, have difficulty believing that they have within them to be the whole person. So that's really where the challenge comes in from my perspective. People have a lot of traumatic things that have happened to them, and a lot of people who have had traumatic things have overcome them, but they had to believe that they could overcome it. Right. And even as a coach, we have to be very careful not to overstep the line, the boundary between a coach and a therapist. You need to be able to identify when a client is coming to you that there may be a point where they also need a therapist. I'm a firm believer in a team. You could have a coach, you could have a therapist, you could have a nutritionist, you could have a workout. I am a firm believer in a team. And just because you have a coach does not need you don't need a therapist. And just because you have a therapist doesn't mean you don't need a coach. The purpose is different. The therapist is trained. They have experience with dealing with a large variety of traumatic and mental health concerns. Their job is to help you work through whatever experiences that you have had to then be able to say, I'm okay with that. Instead of, I was talking about earlier, how you bury that stuff down, the therapist is there to help you unbury it, move it to where it needs to go, and then leave it be. Whereas the coach's job is to take where you are now and then help you to move forward with whatever goals, things that you're working on. This is not to say that therapist doesn't do that too, but their job really is to help you take the trash out, uncover the stuff that's been buried that is causing you mental and emotional harm, deal with it so that you can then move forward. And some coaches, we can to a certain point, but you need to be very careful
So in your one-on-one coaching sessions, how you approach emotional regulation therapy in your conventional practice?
So I approach it from, I'm a very ontological type coach, which means that I ask you questions with the intent of helping you uncover what you already know. There may be some tools that I know that you don't know, but the real answers to how you need to move in life, the person has them within them. So I use a very ontological approach, which means I ask a lot of questions. So it's really like a continuous question session to help them think about how they move, how they feel, how they think, so that they can answer in a way that is doable for them. Because of course, you could just tell people what to do, but that might not be natural for them. So you ask the questions so that they can think about it and respond in the way that is doable. Because what you really want on the outcome is for them to be able to do this for themselves, right? It's not to keep coming to you to the end of time. You want them to move through these things and do this themselves. So occasionally, if they seem like they're truly stuck, and then I might ask them, would they like a suggestion for it? Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they say no. Either way, it's fine. But I believe everybody has the answers within them. But when you're got stuff piled on top, the questions is like helping them. It's like the pile of laundry and you're looking for matching socks and you have to pull the stuff out. So the questions are like pulling the clothes off the basket till you get to the pair of socks. And you're like, oh, yes, I have my pair. And so that's how I look at the questioning. I am just helping them pull it out so they can get to their matching pair that makes sense to them, feels good to them, and shows up in a way that they can be comfortable using and doing that moving forward.
If you could give one strong advice to all the people that is watching us right now, what would be?
It's not an advice, but it is a statement. And the statement is you have a choice. You have a choice. Oftentimes, people feel in their various situations that they have no choice, that they must go down one path or another. You always have a choice. Now, some choices may feel more comfortable, some choices may feel more doable, but you always have a choice. And I think a lot of the depression, the anxiety, the I'm just going to have an outburst is because people don't feel like they have a choice. You have a choice. You simply need to learn how to recognize what's going on with you so that you can give yourself the space to see what the choices are.
Someone that is listening us right now says, all my life I've been having a hard time making choices and making decisions by myself, or I need help to make a decision. What you will say to that person?
So if they feel like they have a difficulty making decisions, I would ask them, well, decisions with what? What to wear, where to go to work, how to answer people. What is it that you feel that you have difficulty with? Because people make decisions all the time and they do it without thinking. So what kind of decisions do you feel like you're having difficulty making? And then depending on what types of decisions that they feel like they have trouble with, then I would try to work with them to break that decision down into smaller pieces. One of my favorite sayings is, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. It's the same thing with a decision. There might be a big decision you need to make, but there's oftentimes several pieces that go to make up that larger decision. So when people say that they have problems making decisions, they're seeing the big one, but they're not seeing all the pieces that make up the small one. So trying to help them say, okay, well, you have this decision to make, but these are the things that lead up to this. How about we work on these first, and then you can lead up to that one.
Do you think that self-esteem or empowerment can be related to the power of make our own decisions or moving
Absolutely.
forward on this?
I am sure that there is a correlation with self-confidence and self-esteem and decision making. Oftentimes, I do believe people who have issues with self-esteem or self-confidence, those are the areas where a therapist may be better suited to help the person. It doesn't mean that a coach can't help them. They can, because I often give people affirmations. I often give them meditations that are supportive of that, but that is to manage it from this point forward. There's a reason they feel that way. There's a reason that self-esteem, that they don't trust their own thoughts and emotions. They need to figure out why that is, deal with that, and then their ability to feel more confident in themselves, to love themselves more, comes as a result of dealing with that, to figure out why you have those issues. And in order for you to be successful, that's one of those areas that you need to figure out why, deal with it, and then you can move forward.
You just said a key phrase, love more yourself.
I mean, I love myself for sure, but I think what's more accurate is not even self-confidence, but self-trust. I think people love themselves, but they don't trust themselves. They don't trust their decision making. They don't trust that they'll make good choices. They don't trust. So they've got to figure out the root cause of that and deal with that, right? It's like, if you have a sore tooth, you can put some Orajel on it and it will soothe it for a little while. But if it is rotten underneath, you got to go in there and get that out. Otherwise, it's just going to keep hurting. I feel like self-confidence issues, self-love issues come from a deeper place that needs to be addressed. So for example, let's say a young person or young adult has a parent that talks very demeaning to them. This is the root of their self-confidence issues. But now they've severed their ties with that parent. They're out here living and they're trying to make decisions, but it feels very uncomfortable for them. But they don't know why, because they have internalized that negative self-talk from the parents. They're wanting to do better, but because they have now severed that connection with the parent, they've closed the door on that, right? And so now, even as a young adult or even a big grown adult, they might still be dealing with that. I, as a coach, I'm just giving a person affirmations and exercises. It's just like the frosting, but the frosting has to go on the cake. So I do work with people. I do help them, but I also encourage experienced mental health professionals. And I tell people too, mental health support should be no different than your physical support. You make sure you go to the physical doctor every year. You mean to tell me you don't think it's important to see the mental doctor at least once a year? You go to the eye doctor once a year, you get your teeth cleaned twice a year. It's the same thing for your mind. We have to change the thought process that somehow the thing that runs everything else for us should just be ignored and only be addressed when there's a problem. You should treat your mental health as a proactive measure the same way that you do any other function within your body. And so as a coach, I tell people that your coach is here for a period. You're trying to achieve something, right? In the traditional sense, if a coach is like a football coach, you're trying to win the games, right? Or you might have a business coach because you want to launch your business or you want to take your business to the next level. It is a finite period, right, that you do it. Could you have a coach for years? You could, but what was the purpose? What is the measure of what you're doing with that person? You're trying to achieve a particular goal. And some of these goals we can achieve with you, but some of them you need other support to do.
Where can people find you and have coaching with you, or where they can learn more about your work or about you?
Sure. My website is www.galandab.com. I am also on Instagram and Facebook, probably the most, but on any of the social media platforms as Galanda B. Even through my Instagram, if you wanted to chat with me, my number for WhatsApp is on there. You can get to me through that. You can sign up for my newsletter, right, from my website. I'm open to have introductory chats. You can sign up for a free 30-minute consultation if you would like to chat with me to see how we can work together. I do take one-on-one clients. I will have a monthly coaching program coming the second quarter of this year, but if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I'm happy to do that as well. Or if you want me to come for like your workshop or you have a seminar series that you're doing, I'm happy to work with you as well.
Awesome. Galanda, we are very excited I'm still excited to be here
Yes.
talking with you, and I could spend hours talking here with you. Thank you very much for accepting this invitation to the channel, and thank you very much for sharing your expertise. I know that we still have a lot of things to talk about, like your herbal wisdom, energy healing, and acupressure techniques that you are also an expert in. I will be totally open if you want to work with us again.
Yes, I'm honored. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. I'm very glad that you even considered me, and I'm happy to come back and talk about whatever with you.
Thank you very much, Galanda. And thank you very much to all of you watching us right now. Don't forget to stay connected to yourself.